Wow, look at that. We got all connected. I forgot my cigar. It's been a busy morning. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz. Today, we didn't even get the countdown going on. I mean, it's just a nutty day. You've got the Supreme Court talking right now regarding transgenderism. This war is getting won, but not by the forces that want to abuse children. Those people need to be on the ash heap of history. Then you've got President Trump saying that help is on the way to Iran, but I'm not sure what that means. I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. It begins right now. President Trump has informed the Iranians that help is on the way. I don't know what to do with that information. But he said it. He said it very loud and very clear and put it up on the social medias for all the world to see. Writing, Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions. Save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killings of protesters stops. Help is on its way, he writes in capital letters. MAGA, make Iran great again. President Donald J. Trump. I would rather, he said, MIPA, make Iran Persia again. Tony Katz Today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. I don't know what help is on the way means. And this is not me angry. I'm not saying, what is President Trump doing? Oh, no, I am all in favor of supporting the people. The reports came out earlier today that the Iranian regime has killed 12,000 people in Iran, these protesters who see the opportunity to live a free life, who have seen since the bombing of Isfahan, of Fordow, and Natanz, these nuclear facilities, by the United States and by the Israelis. They see an opportunity to overthrow the regime. This horrific, Islamic, totalitarian, disgusting regime that executed over 1,900 people from the numbers we have in 2025 alone. People are saying that this is just proof that they don't want Islam. Well, you can actually engage a bit of a history tracing regarding Iran and how they view themselves, and not necessarily in any way as a Muslim society. It was something that was thrust upon them. But I would put forth to you that more to the point, they simply don't want this, the Ayatollah, the mullahs, the inability to express, the inability to engage, the inability to live their lives, the inability to deal and engage in trade. And they're exhausted by the sanctions that have crippled the society. So when President Trump said yesterday he was going to impose a 25% tariff on any nation that did business with Iran, this isn't something that provides service to the Iranian people. And I would tell the president that. It makes their life more difficult. It is going to affect them in a negative, not a positive, because the pressure on the regime doesn't change, because it's very obvious that the regime, if they're going to go out, they're going to go out with a bang, and they're going to kill everybody they can. Those sticking with the Ayatollah, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they're sticking because they're getting paid. There's dollars for them. There's a life for them. There's power for them. And they're not so quick to give that up. And they have seen these uprisings before and don't necessarily feel like this is going to be any different. Although it is obvious, I think, to those of us on the outside that this is tremendously different. To quote the song, there's something happening here. There is something happening. But the sanctions do not help the Iranian people. President Trump saying, keep a list, help is on the way. That could help the Iranian people. What I do not know is what that help is. We're going to get back to that. Let's stick to this 12,000 number. There are two things that I think we need to take from this number. First and foremost, there is no way of knowing whether this number is accurate. You will forgive me for being a person that can recognize that the data coming in comes in choppy and spotty. There is mass upheaval. There's reports of 2 million people on the streets engaged in protest. When the number was first reported, Wall Street Journal had the number, a host of other people had the number. It was like 500, then it was like 583. And I said, first, that's highly specific. And secondly, there's no way the number's that low. Right? If it was you, me on the bar stool having a bourbon, we're like, they're engaged in protest over there. They're doing all these protests, and the regime is fighting back. And they've got 583 people have been killed. You and I would say the same exact thing. That's a low number. That's a low number. My problem is that I don't know if I can believe 12,000. Because I am a normal person and I have normal levels of skepticism. Just like I couldn't believe the 500 number, I don't know if I can believe the 12,000 number, although I would, if asked to place my bet, believe that the 12,000 number is closer. This is a great example of why every single one of those Jew-hating bastards who said, look at what the Gaza Health Ministry is saying, 60,000 people, 40,000 people, 80,000 people, it was a lie. The Gaza Health Ministry is Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization supported by the Iranians, funded by the Iranian regime. There was no number to trust there. It was all made up. Everything they said was a lie. Everything. You have to be American left stupid to have bought into that. I engage the same philosophy. I say I don't believe that number. I need verification of this number. You'll also note that all those people who chanted free, free Palestine, they're all Jew-hating bigots. Every single one of them is a Jew-hating low-life bastard. I said it. I meant it. I don't apologize for anything. They've proven themselves to be who they are. Why? Because they don't say free, free Iran. They don't care about the Iranian people. They don't give a damn. Every single one of them, from Columbia University, not engaged in protest, from NYU or USC, not engaged in protest, not taking to the streets for the Iranian people. You know who's taking to the streets for the Iranian people? Jews. We want to see a free Iran, and so do you, because you're normal, as opposed to these bigots. Speaking of bigots, let's add Representative Ocasio-Cortez to the mix. Send this to her. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, what have I said about her? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't care about brown kids. How do I know this? In Trump's first term, there she is crying at the border. She's dressed in all white and she's by the fence and she's crying. Now, the fence is nowhere near the border. You can actually walk around the fence. It was all a photo op. She's a child engaged in play acting. But she's concerned about kids in cages or whatever other thing she claimed she cared about when Trump was in office. Then Biden was in office for 4 years, engaged in all the same things regarding the border, except, of course, allowed more and more illegal immigrants into the country. And she never once went to the border and cried. The only thing one could take from that is she never cared about these children to begin with. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York does not care about the lives or well-being of brown children. She doesn't give a damn. You can quote me. And now, with Iran on the precipice of falling apart, the regime going away, and the people having an opportunity, what is she doing? Oh, anti-Semitism is just terrible. But where the hell was she with all the Colombia protests and everything else. She pals around with Jeremy Corbyn. She doesn't condemn Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar or Andre Carson. With all due respect, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't give a damn about Jews. You would have to be a leftist woman or a liberal Jew to believe she cares about you, which, said differently, you'd have to be a schmuck. Just too dumb to come out of the rain. And you say to me, Tony, my gosh, you're really laying it on with this. Oh, the facts are the facts are the facts are the facts, and it can't be denied. It can't be denied. It is what it is, what it is. These people don't care. They're playing in variations of politics and are showing you what they're all about. Do I believe the 12,000 number? I just want verification of the 12,000 number. I do believe that the Iranian regime is killing those who are engaged in protest. Absolutely. And to put a bow on Representative Ocasio-Cortez, you know those pictures of the women who are lighting the photo of the Ayatollah on fire and lighting their cigarettes with it? Yeah, braver than anything Representative Ocasio-Cortez has ever done in her whole life. Those women are brave, Representative Ocasio-Cortez. You're a little girl. In comparison, so we're clear. By the way, a lot of men out there, little boys, compared to what these women are doing. Actually standing up and saying, we're not going to be a part of this. We're going to live free. I don't know what President Trump is going to do. I don't know what he means by help is on the way. I can make assumptions. I can make assumptions that what we're going to see are hits on military facilities, crippling the nation in its ability to respond by engaging an attack on the United States or Israel. Now you say to me, why does Israel come into this? Because the Iranians brought it up, that if the U.S. does anything, they'll hit Israel. But I don't know yet how that's going to help the Iranian people. If you're going to help the Iranian people, what you have to do is engage in a fracturing of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, of the mullahs. How does that happen? How does that engage? And I wish I had a good answer for you. I wish I had, here's exactly how it's going to play out for you. I don't. I just know when I read what it is that the president has put out, canceling meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on its way. I don't know what it means. What I do know is what a gorgeous and glorious and valuable departure this is from the days of Barack Obama. When this was last happening, because these things have happened throughout history, where was the backup? Where was the help? Where was the feeling that they could do it? It was nowhere from the then president of the United States, Barack Obama. Nothing. Radio silence. And instead, the Iranian regime gains the upper hand, is able to put down any type of opportunity for freedom. And then the United States signs the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the Iranian nuclear deal, which absolutely was helping the Iranians secure a nuclear weapon. Ben Rhodes was wrong. The Obama bros were wrong. Obama was wrong. He understood zero about foreign policy. You can hate Mitt Romney all you damn well like. If he had been elected instead of an Obama second term, man, things would have been better. Now, you wouldn't have had Trump, but you would have at least had somebody who could have pushed back on the Russians properly at the time. Oh, that's a really good debate subject. What if we had gotten Romney to not allow the second term, but we wouldn't have had Trump and this larger scale concept of cleaning house? Ooh, did we sacrifice one to get the other? Ooh, maybe we did. Maybe we did. Oh, hey, you know what? Subject for another day. I didn't mean to get sidetracked. Not sure what comes next. I'm not sure all the assets that are in the Gulf or in other areas to which we can engage a launch. We did move some assets, of course, to the Caribbean to deal with Venezuelans, but we've got plenty of assets. The tariffs aren't the thing. It's going to further isolate the regime, for sure, but it doesn't stop the killing. Only stopping the killing stops the killing. And that's going to involve some military involvement. That's going to involve strategic bombings, because it's not going to involve troops on the ground. The president said help is on its way. I think we're about to find out what that means. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz Today. See that? What's that? I think I'm due for a haircut. I would love to grow it out again. Oh, I used to be really flowing. But the TV stuff, video stuff, it's just, this is where it's at. Keeping it shorter. So yeah, you guys have seen there are a lot of trolls, the free Palestine kind of stuff. They're all losers. They're all wrong. I want them to lose. I don't care what they say about me. I understand that they're going to get violent. I understand that anybody, not just me, who engages with them, putting their life on the line, yeah, it sucks. But they're violent people, and they're the enemy of civilization, and we have to win, and they have to lose, and that's just it. I don't use this lighter often. This is also one of those from the Opus X Society. I just think it's a beautiful piece. Can I get a little? There it goes. As long as the autofocus comes back, we're good. I don't have a camera person. And this is the Oliva. This is the V Milanio in a torpedo, or they might call it a bellicoso. Nicaraguan puro. It's a Nicaraguan puro, isn't it? The Oliva V. This is a wonderful, wonderful cigar. You'll find them everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. They make a crazy ton of these. Yes, it's a Nicaraguan puro. Nicaraguan wrapper binder filler. That would be a puro. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful cigar. I don't care where you are. So they have the V. They have an O and a G, which is a Connecticut. And then they have the V. And then this is the Milanio, which is a bit of an upgraded version. Doesn't matter where you are. Always going to work. Back to the show, if we would.
I guess I'm still struggling to understand why the state would have to have perfectly tailored laws. I would think the state would just have to make exceptions where people can demonstrate that the justification that makes the state's conduct constitutional doesn't apply to them.
Right. So making exceptions is tailoring your law. That's literally what it means to tailor.
No, but from the standpoint of a facial challenge, when we're asking whether this law has to be stricken completely because it isn't, perfectly tailored. What we're doing is a different exercise in the as applied challenge. We're asking whether, even though this law is overbroad, we're assuming it's overbroad now because you've got in there some people to whom it should not be applied. What do we do about that? What is the remedy that those people can get? And what I hear you saying is they get no remedy unless they can demonstrate that there are enough people that this is sufficiently overbroad that it's no longer something the state can do.
That is Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson once again proving she is not fit for the court. You can call me any name you want. The reality is the reality. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. SCOTUS hearing a series of cases. These are all transgender athletic cases. And I will remind you that when we started discussing, boys should not be in girls' sports, the left responded with a couple of different tactics. They responded with the lie and the fraud of gender-affirming care, which was a terminology they utilized as a shield to allow them to continue to abuse and mutilate children. Then they told you that if you did not engage these surgeries or these puberty blockers, these drugs, etc., this chemical castration of sorts, that these children were going to lead to suicide. You were going to guarantee these children were dead, they were going to kill themselves. And then when you kept saying you wanted to protect children from abusers, the abuser said, "Why are you so obsessed with children's genitals?" Man, they threw it all at us, didn't they? And then they said, "Why is the right always involved in a culture war?" And what did we say here? We said, damn straight we're involved in a culture war and we're going to win. These two cases in front of the Supreme Court, one of them is Little versus Hecox, Hecox, and the other one, West Virginia versus BPJ, which refers to a 15-year-old high school student. These cases come from two different angles, so it's not like they're totally handling the same subject, but they are within the same world, which is recognizing that boys are not girls, girls are not boys, and that we are right to say that children are not adults, that we don't allow children to make these decisions, that we should not be abusing children with these drugs or with these surgeries, and we don't have to tell girls anymore that they have to take a backseat to boys in sports. No, a decision over here does not apply over there, and no, children can't even make this decision anyway. That's where it looks like these things are going. Now, the court was deep into the conversations earlier today because they were hearing the Idaho case, which was the Hecox case. Right now, they are hearing the West Virginia case. No decision is going to get made today. You've got months before the decision is made, but of course, we'll be able to consult with some of the experts to get an idea based on the questions, what it is that they're feeling, what it is that they're seeing. But there's no doubt that the fight that you've been engaged in to protect children is the right one. The abuse of children is wrong. Children cannot make this decision at all and in any way. They're wrong and you're right. I think the Supreme Court is going to rule in the favor of protecting kids and putting an end to this transanity. In either case, keep fighting for your kids. Keep fighting for kids' safety. I'm Tony Katz. 10,000%. Keep fighting. I won't affirm gender dysphoria or anorexia. Same logic applies to both. Well, if the argument is in both cases, there is a mental disorder at play, of course you wouldn't play into it. You would want to help the person through it. So I absolutely I absolutely agree with you, 10,000%. And as for, Ketanji won't fight, meaning Ketanji Brown Jackson, Justice Jackson, but the rest will. I don't know where Sotomayor and Kagan are. And I will tell you, I don't know, because I didn't get to hear everything about whether there's any questions from Gorsuch or Kavanaugh on the subject. What I know is that children are not adults and they don't get to make decisions. And the decision of one should not be an impact on others, which is what so many are saying. It's that here's a child making a decision, yet this girl suffers. Why? Why is this one allowed to impact this one? I think that there's a lot there. Let me go back. Let me see the comments. Why is bourbon's always appealing? Matt, come on now. Don't be crazy. Don't be silly. What else do we got? Oh, we've got some people who want to, do nonsense Trump stuff. They're just angry. Constantly hateful. Oh, I have. They did not. Oh, People Magazine. That's got to be a hack. So Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, passed away today at the age of 68. Cancer, and he had talked about it. He put out a final statement, a host of things. I'll get into this later. Holy cow. Well, People Magazine, if you follow my Twitter feed, you'll see it for yourself. But I'll save it for later. Just checking to see if I've got everything together, and I do. It's and I mean my response is 4-letter. Are you a fighter down to fist fight? I guess it depends on the subject. I mean, I think there are some things worth fighting for, and I think there's some things you actually have to fight for. I think I fight regarding the law in the context of the courts and public opinion. I think I protect my children with anything I have on me. That's what I think. The people who are supporting ICE, they have engaged in more and more aggressive activities. Is that the way to describe it? Is that the way to say it? Tony Katz? Tony Katz today? No. The way to say it is Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. The way to ask that is the people who are supporting ICE are getting far more violent. We have seen this. And in the case of Minneapolis, we're seeing that they are being supported by people who are politically aligned. Democrats in the House, in the Senate, Democrats in parts of the political arena in Minnesota. Now, there's a whole conversation about what happens with Tim Walz, and I'll get to that. But Andrew Colvin, who is I don't want to say former. I don't think that's proper. He was the producer of Charlie Kirk's radio show. And okay, do me a favor, producer Landon. Can you go? I saw this on my Twitter feed today. Did Candace Owens say she had a dream where she was at the funeral of Benjamin Netanyahu's wife and Andrew Colvett admitted that he betrayed Charlie Kirk as if he killed Charlie Kirk? Can you go and see whether or not she said that? Some people think that you shouldn't say anything about the Candace, Meghan's, Tucker's. I think that they're wrong. I saw this in a radio trade. I'm like, no, that's not correct. It's not everybody's life, and it's certainly not every day. But these people have millions and millions and millions of followers, and it is our job, I think, on this side of the mic, to be engaged in, hey, this is madness, and you should know why. And now here, let's go talk about this thing over here. No, Candace and Tucker and them don't necessarily have a daily effect on your life, but their followers have a lot of votes, and it could have an effect on your life. And you have to know some of the insane things that are happening so we can help break that stuff up in terms of, and no, here are the facts, and yes, that's nuts. That brings us to this, because Andrew Colvett posted something that was going on MS Now. Remember, it used to be MSNBC, now it's Ms. Now. And Nicole Wallace. I wanted to share this with you. I haven't heard it even in full yet. But he's like, you will not believe how they're supporting these people attacking ICE.
If the goal was to make people afraid, if the goal was to censor them in some way, it has had exactly the opposite effect. I spoke to several of the people who were involved in the citizen monitoring groups. As of Saturday, they had 4,000 additional people sign up for these groups, and they do varying things. At some of the schools, for instance, today, a group of retired teachers showed up and surrounded the schools with a phalanx of older teachers who could have been, enjoying their retirement, and instead they're standing in front of the schools, basically telling the agents, if you're going to come here and go after the students, because they are arresting minors, they are apprehending minors in some cases. If you're going to go after the people in the school, you got to go through us first.
So first, here's MS Now saying that the left has recruited more leftists, and they've got old liberal white women thinking that they're protecting schools by creating human chains in a fantasy that they still live in 1968, saying if you want those kids, you got to come through us. Well, that's not something to celebrate. I think that's kind of nutty. If you want to talk about being on a street corner and protesting or going to some kind of rally, go right ahead. How do you think you're going to stop a cop? How do you think you're going to stop ICE? How do you think you're going to stop the forces? You're a 65-year-old woman who I guarantee you is not in good health. How are you going to do it? My mother is a 78-year-old woman, and you could knock her over with a good blow from a hairdryer. My mother's not a waif. Physically, not up to it. Mentally, absolutely. Thank goodness. And she wouldn't be there trying to stop ICE. She'd be like, hey, guys, great job getting rid of illegal immigrants. You want some cake? I made banana bread. I make it with chocolate chips. The kids love it. You want some? I'll cut you a big slice. It's all right. It's fine, honey. Pookie, it's fine. It's good. How you doing? How are the children? That'd be my mother. My mother was the daughter of legal immigrants coming from Poland, values legal immigration, despises illegal immigration. Turns out your mother and my mother have a lot in common, and banana bread's delicious. She thinks she's going to stand in the way? Of what? A lawful activity? But that's not the whole story.
They are out on the streets and they are calling dispatch units throughout the city to let people know where ICE is operating. There are these heat maps that they have to show where this activity is happening.
That is MS Now admitting that the left is tracking ICE agents, tracking their activities, tracking their whereabouts. You want to know why they wear masks? because they would all get outed and these people would attack their kids. Well, Tony, you're fine with them going after those kids. Whoa, 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 whoa. The reporting from MS Now does not make things factual. Now, the follow-up is, are we talking about children who have been brought into the country illegally, where their parents are, et cetera, and they're bringing families together? What is the actual specific context? What I'm saying is, ICE, one could argue, has the legal authority to do what they do. Progressives don't have any legal authority, and they would shoot kids in the head. And you say to me, how dare you say such a thing? And I say to you, Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump, and the attempt on ICE agents in Dallas, can I help you? Oh, and when Democrats do have power, Elian Gonzalez. No, it's can you add that one in there? I mean, he was in the closet. All right, we'll get back to that later. More from MS Now.
So people are, when Keith Ellison said Minnesotans are responding to this, it is incredibly organized. I don't want to use hyperbole, but it almost sounds like the kinds of things that you read in school about the French resistance. I mean, they're really going to the ground, but doing it in a very organizational way.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to get into a history lesson about the French resistance. I am going to note that this is exactly what Andrew Kovitz said it was. This is MS Now, MSNBC. This is progressive television saying that ICE agents are Nazis. Resisting ICE agents is somehow valuable. They're trying to get people killed. They're trying to get people killed. The citizen first of all, they're calling them citizen observers or legal observers. They're blocking traffic. They're breaking windows in some places. They're getting into fights with ICE agents. They're throwing snowballs, bottles of water, spitting on people, but they're just citizen observers. They're the French resistance. Who did the French resist? Hold on. This is a good time. You know what? We're gonna need the sound effect right there. This is a good time to ask AI. I don't know. I'm gonna need something. I'm gonna need something here. Which, let's see. I'll go to this AI here, and I'll say this. What was the French resistance? Let's see what the AI machine has to say. The French resistance was a collection of diverse groups and individuals who fought against the Nazi occupation of France and the collaborationist Vichy regime during World War II. MSNBC, MS Now, is calling ICE Nazis. That is encouraging the violence against ICE. People will get killed, and it is these so-called news organizations, it is these politicos who are guilty. They can't seem to figure out that if you don't like the law, change the law. You don't like the leadership, change the leadership. Vote. Nah, why vote when you can destroy? Why vote when you can attack? Why vote when you can kill? And maybe we could just scare you people on the political right enough to let us do whatever we want. And if you even think of asking a question, don't forget, we'll slap you till you die. I mean, the left, you understand, if we're going to create a real type of analogy here, the left isn't the resistance. The left is an abusive, drunken father who comes home and realizes that maybe you left a drawer open. Oh, now you're going to get a beating. You do whatever it is we tell you to do, or else. That's the left. That is the violent, dangerous left. Why am I not a progressive? That is just one of many, many, many reasons. And they do it freely and gladly and joyfully. I mean, you have people like this woman right here who's very happy to say we need to organize. Here's the organization. Finger on the dump button just in case.
And ICE has already kidnapped 5 of my neighbors. I responded to one where we believe a whole family was taken with children. There are more federal agents in Minnesota than we have of the St. Paul and Minneapolis police combined. And yet, there are neighbors that are showing up in incredible ways, like standing in front of known targeted businesses, helping escort workers home. Today, I'm kicking off one of our first mutual aid grocery runs in my neighborhood. An easy way for folks to get involved, but it's because the workers have been pulled over time and time again, attempting to make deliveries to families that are too afraid to even go grocery shopping. We're also seeing troubling.
Whoa. So you're putting together a group of people to go grocery shopping and buy groceries for people who are in the country illegally. So you're now assisting these people in avoiding law enforcement because they've broken the law by being here illegally. You're now hiding criminals. I'm not a lawyer, but I did see 3 episodes of The People's Court. You go to jail for that, right? Is that what it's called, Chris? Is that the official definition of aiding and abetting? And that's aiding and abetting? Huh. Make it one more reason why I'm not a progressive then. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back. Tony Katz Today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Yes, Bill Clinton and the contempt charges. I've got that. Then we'll get into Tim Walz, Pope Leo, this DJ in Massachusetts. I've got some other subjects to get to. We will do that as well as I just check on my Twitter feed. Oh God, they put out a statement. Bill and Hillary put out a statement together. the one thing I like about the Clintons, I know, right? One of the things that I always appreciate is that they never think anything applies to them, and they understand what it is to fight from the very beginning. Again, if we talk about the most base part of why the left is infuriated by Trump is that he fights harder than anybody else. They're used to just winning. They're used to just getting their way, and they haven't, and they lose their minds about it. It is the thing to remember. Democrats will fight on anything. Bill Clinton got subpoenaed. He didn't show up, and he writes a letter with Hillary saying, "You suck and your mother's a skank." Basically is what the letter says to James Comer. We don't care what you want. It's one heck of a letter. But it's more about an attitude. The attitude. That is very, very, very important to note and to have. You just can't worry about what they're going to say about you and move forward. Now, he has, of course, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton have the luxury of the media mostly behind them, even though the media doesn't like them. But they like Trump less. So, but it's an attitude, and it's so valuable. Back to the show. Contempt of Congress. That is what Bill Clinton is facing. He skipped his Epstein deposition. He had a subpoena regarding Jeffrey Epstein, House Oversight Committee. He did not show up. Tony Katz today, good to be with you, is going to be closed door. Comer saying, I think everyone knows by now, Bill Clinton did not show up. And I think it's important to note that the subpoena was voted on in a bipartisan manner by this committee. This wasn't something that I just issued as chairman of the committee. This was voted on by the entire committee in a unanimous vote of the Oversight Committee to subpoena former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Hillary is supposed to show up tomorrow. Billy Bubba, he wrote a letter with Hillary to Chairman Comer. This past year has seen our government engage in unprecedented acts, including against our own citizens. Were you on the plane with Jeffrey Epstein going to the island and having sexual activities with children? Yes or no? Did you watch Jeffrey Epstein engage in sexual activities with children and say nothing about it? Yes or no? What does that have to do with anything you claim is going on against the citizenry? The people who laid siege to the U.S. Capitol have been pardoned and called heroes. What does that have to do with anything? Even though they did not lay siege to the Capitol, they were welcomed into the Capitol, and they stayed in many cases between the velvet ropes, to paraphrase the late, great Norm Macdonald. A legal analysis prepared by 2 law firms and provided to you yesterday makes clear your subpoenas are legally invalid. You claim your subpoenas are inviolate when they are used against us, yet we're silent when the sitting president took the same position as a former president barely more than 3 years ago. If it was wrong then, it's wrong now. What are you saying? That Trump not listening to a subpoena gave you some level of precedent? Despite everything that needs to be done to help our country, right, Bill and Hillary Clinton, you are on the cusp of bringing Congress to a halt to pursue a rarely used process literally designed to result in our imprisonment. This is not the way America's ills. This is not the way out of America's ills, and we will forcefully defend ourselves. Did you see Jeffrey Epstein engage in a sexual of any type, a sexual act of any type with children? Did you? Did Hillary? Did you see it and not say anything? You won't show up to say that you didn't see anything? Okay. You want to go out there and blame Trump? Blame evil Republicans? No. I was told that the Epstein matter mattered. Why doesn't Bill Clinton believe that? I'm Tony Katz. The left told us that this matters. Why are we covering it up? Let us not cover it up. But Bill Clinton won't talk about it. Very interesting. Very interesting that Bill Clinton won't talk about it, even though Democrats want to talk about it. Me, I wanted the files all along, so. Bubba. Listen, being married to Hillary is not an excuse for abusing children. And if you did it, you have to go to jail until you die. Because I don't think they're going to let you out in time. You're already an older man. One has to assume you'll die in prison. You'll still have had a better life than how you treated these girls, but maybe you didn't do anything. How would I know? This is to find out who knew what, when, where, why, and how. And you, there's a painting of you that was in his place in a blue dress. So answer the questions. You don't want to answer the questions? Okay. Send what is it? What is it? The sergeant at arms. Sergeant at arms. Send the sergeant at arms to his house, push the Secret Service aside, handcuff him, and frog march him back to DC to answer the questions. By the way, Will, anybody associated with the abusing of children needs to go to jail. I don't care what party they're in. I don't care if their last name's Clinton, Gates, Trump. I don't care. What do I care? They all have to go to jail if they were doing this. Do I think Trump was? No. And truthfully, do I think Clinton was? I don't know. But there are photos, and they can lead to questions for sure. For sure. I think that the investigation should continue, and I hope that it does. I hope that it does. All right, so here's where we're at. We are in the commercial break. And that's what the radio shows. So we'll take the break here. We'll come back. We'll get into part 2. Tim Walz, impeached or imprisoned. We will get that going, discuss what might happen. The statement from Pope Leo, and then we'll have the latest breaking news. Don't forget to get your tickets. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Trump 1 year later, the highs, the lows, how we win the midterms. It's a look back at the last year, and then how we're going to take that information and create the blueprint for victory in November. 3 types of bourbon to try. Incredible, incredible food for you to enjoy. Live music, and people are going to look fancy. We're doing red tie. So you could do a gown or a tux. You could do cocktail attire. You could just do pants. Pants are always good. It's going to be an amazing night. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Get your tickets. Make that happen right now, immediately, if not sooner. Hold on. How long have I been dealing with my delusional psychosis? Oh, gosh, Bill, I don't have delusional psychosis. Or wait, are you asking somebody else? I'm fine. I'm all sorts of good. Oh, and now here someone has called me Billy Mays. Remember OxyClean? OxyClean. That's good, right? So as long as I'm not the ShamWow guy, we're all right. We're good. Hey, but keep working on the name calling. You'll get there. You'll make it happen. I know you will. Guys, smoke them if you got them. Stay right here. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. We have got much to get to, including what I said about Tim Walz. Are his days numbered? What is next with him? Like I have got so many stories to get to. So I may just have to just run through it. This is crazy. I'm at 10. 10. So climate collapses. What Bessent is saying about the Attorney General of Minnesota. And then, of course, Candace Owens is a freak. Freak. She's going to tell us about her dreams, and does she think that this is real life? It's a dream. Well, look who came to me in my dream. I wonder if there is some belief that for someone like Candace Owens, that does she think that she is imbued with a secret knowledge? That's usually what leftists believe. Does she believe she has been touched by the Lord and sent to us to give us the truth? I mean, do you think she believes that? Because that's the vibe I get. Oh, the Timothy Busfield story? I do not know what's going on here. I'll try and hit that tomorrow with some more depth. So is Tim Walz going to be impeached? Or is Tim Walz going to resign? Tim Walz going to jail? All right, I'm not so sure about the third one, but the first two, I mean, right now they're giving about even money. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. 833-468-8669. 833-GOT-TONY. That's how you get to be a part of the program. The governor of Minnesota is in a bad way. And you say to me, well, it's these ICE protests. Oh, gosh. No. The ICE protests are the only thing keeping people from discussing that this guy allowed rampant fraud to exist in his state and in his government to the tune of potentially billions of dollars, and did absolutely nothing about it. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Find it all at TonyKatz.com if you would. I'd greatly appreciate it. How this was not a subject while he was running for vice president is a great example of how media covers stories. What is it that Iowa Hawk said? The job of journalism is to cover important stories with a pillow until they stop moving. I believe that's the correct expression. We didn't know about the fraud not until Rufo and Thorpe over at City Journal exposed the story, and then Nick Shirley went and made the video, and well, then it was off to the races. These fake daycare centers, these liars who built the daycare centers, then scream racism, then go about attacking those who are looking into it and asking questions. All those citizen journalists who arrived in Minneapolis and are knocking on the doors of these non-existent daycare centers. It's not like they're disrupting any kids. There are no kids. And then the daycare center the next day that said, we were robbed and they stole all our records, so we don't have anything to give the authorities. I mean, that's a pretty crazy thing to try and get people to believe. And there is a brand. It's something hearts. Chrome Hearts. I don't know if you know Chrome Hearts. All I know is I was in Vegas for Christmas, and where was the Chrome Hearts store? It was in the Cosmopolitan? It was in the Cosmopolitan because the restaurant Momofuku is in the Cosmopolitan, and Momofuku is among the 5 top meals I've ever had in my entire life. Brilliant. Not good, not great, not exceptional. Brilliant is Momofuku in the Cosmopolitan. And if you can't get in there, in the food court, they have what's known as Bang Bar, which is exceptional. I think it's there on that floor. I think that's where it is. There, maybe it's not in the Cosmopolitan. There's a store called Chrome Hearts. I was not familiar with it as a luxury brand. There's a few of them. There is a few Chrome Hearts locations, and they do clothing, they do jewelry, they do all sorts of things. They're in like 6 or 7 spots around the globe, and they have an online presence. And there was a line to get in, and they were letting people in 2 at a time. Oh, yeah, they did the whole scarcity thing. Ooh, if there's a line, it must be important. I need to get in there. Great tactic. Absolutely fantastic tactic. The guy who was saying they broke in and they stole our records and we can't, we have no way to find out who was actually coming to our daycare. That guy, he's wearing Chrome Hearts sunglasses. Go ahead, producer Landon. Why don't you look up how much Chrome Hearts sunglasses are? Would you? Would you, producer Landon, do that for me? Chrome Hearts sunglasses. Hey, pick any style. Pick any style you want, producer Landon. Why don't you tell me how much they are? Just go ahead. $500 for sunglasses. So the guy who said his records were stolen was wearing $500 sunglasses. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now raise your hand if you got your sunglasses the last time you stopped and you got a full tank of gas. Look at the car next to you. That's right. We aren't involved in the Somali daycare fraud, so we ain't making the bank. We're not getting Chrome Heart sunglasses. By the way, more than Somali nationals or anybody connected to Somalia was involved. There's more people involved in this stuff, including Americans, and everyone who's involved has to go to jail. But Walls knew, and it's more and more obvious every day. So the word on the street is that there are those members of the state legislature in Minnesota that want to impeach him. By the way, Landon just found another pair for $2,200. So I don't know which pair this guy had. But he had a pair between $500 and $2,200. So that's the first. That there are members of the state legislature who want to have him impeached. Then there is the possibility that not only is he not running for re-election, he doesn't need to be around this stuff. Now he's a distraction. Resignation. You can't stay. Look what you did. Look what you allowed to happen. Not only did you allow the fraud, but you didn't properly even cover up the fraud. So there's a possibility that he would resign. Minnesota is not going down without a fight. Minnesota is now suing the Department of Homeland Security. They're saying that they want to end the immigration surge into the state, get rid of the ICE agents. This is their philosophy, their belief that they shouldn't be there. We believe the Trump administration is targeting Minnesota because of our political views. That's from Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison is an interesting story because Secretary Scott Bessent has come out with a doozy against the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, former Congressman Keith Ellison. This is the guy who said there's no such thing as Antifa, and there's photos of him proudly displaying the Antifa handbook. That's Keith Ellison, this fraud. By the way, did you see the piece over at The Nation? There was a piece over at here it is. Here it is. There we go. And it reads, liberals think Antifa isn't real, but it is, and it knows how to win. And then the tagline is, to protect us all from the violence of the Trump administration, we must defend Antifa. So first, there was no Antifa. Now it's, well, if there is an Antifa, that's a good thing. And then, of course, we have to defend Antifa because Antifa is great because they say punch a Nazi and engage in violence. This group that Joe Biden told us did not exist and was not real. These people. So that's Keith Ellison. This is what Secretary Bessent, Treasury Secretary, also right now the acting director of the IRS, had to say.
Sort of following the money. There are evidently some disturbing tapes of A.G. Ellison in meetings with people who donated to him, them calling for political favors to stop the investigations. So we'll see. But again, I don't want to get out ahead of the investigations.
Calling for favors to stop the investigation. The Secretary of Treasury just, wait a second, let's go back and listen to that again, shall we?
Sort of following the money. There are evidently some disturbing tapes of A.G. Ellison in meetings with people who donated to him, them calling for political favors to stop the investigations. So we'll see. But
calling for political favors to stop the investigation. This is on tape, audio, video. His friends saying, hey, you have to stop the investigation. Did they offer him anything to stop the investigation? I'm asking. I'm not saying that the secretary said this at all. I think it's an actual question. Was Keith Ellison offered anything to stop these investigations?
Again, I don't want to get out ahead of the investigations. It's going to be very methodical. And Chris, I can guarantee you when the bear trap snaps, we're going to get these folks. And again, we're going to follow the money, whether it's over the two counties here, in Minneapolis, St. Paul's, or whether it's to East Africa. And there's tons of luxury properties, cars that have been bought over there.
Yes, tremendous amount of money has flowed. We already know this part to be true. This goes back to statements from Congressman Jason Lewis, who said quite clearly he knew back in 2014 that money was flowing out of the country from Somali nationals. But the idea that the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, was lobbied to not allow investigations to go forward would only add to the reality that they knew the problem. They just didn't care to fix the problem. Why didn't they care to fix the problem? You know, one could argue that, well, they were getting lots and lots and lots of donations, lots of political donations from these groups that did indeed have a tremendous number of Somalians in them in terms of if we were to take a look at our entire population, this would be a high propensity, a high number of Somalians compared to the rest of the country. Were they getting a lot of donations and they didn't want to end that money train? Did they just agree with this idea that, hey, we can bankrupt the country this way and this is a good thing? We also want to destroy Western civilization. Maybe that's a reach, maybe not. Why did they allow it? Well, the normal answer, right? The simplest answer is usually it. That was Occam's razor, which is really a kind of a paraphrase there. The simplest answer is usually the right answer. Then there's Hanlon's razor, which states never attribute to malice that which can be attributed to stupidity. Meaning sometimes you think somebody does something because they're out to get you. And more times than not, no, it's just because they're a moron. But the simplest answer would be some people were getting paid. we've been able to track the money that these groups were able to siphon from state government in Minnesota, the federal government, and this has also happened in other places: Ohio, Washington State, Oregon, California. I'm assuming all 50 states. There's been some level of fraud. Maine, we know this is true. We're always talking about the money that they were saying, okay, we've got 42 students, but you didn't have 42 students. And okay, here's what we pay a day per student. And oh, you were offering this meal and that meal. Okay, we'll send you these checks. And nothing ever came of it, right? No one was actually ever offered anything. It was all theft. We've been tracking that money. Have we tracked these groups who have been getting the money, their payments outward? And whether or not payments to certain organizations, certain people, certain businesses grew after getting checks? I will tell you guys that the total amount of journalistic thought that I have, right, tracking things down and engaging like a reporter, that does not come naturally to me. The amount of journalist I am is zero. I have curiosities. I have the desire to engage with philosophy. Being like a beat reporter, no. No, thanks, none. So I don't ever consider myself as such. But isn't that the right question? They got all this money. Where'd the money go? We're tracking what went to Somalia. Okay. What didn't go to Somalia? What money didn't go to Somalia? We are able to track the money that came from the feds and from the state to these people. We understand that money went to Somalia. The question I'm asking is, where did the rest of the money go? Well, it went to luxury cars, Tony. It went to luxury vehicles. Is that all it did? Because it sounds like that's what we're talking about. That's what's getting discussed. But we don't have an answer to the question. Where'd the money go? No. Not is it gone. Literally, where did it go? And did it go to people in politics of certain political parties? I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz Today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Let me do that. Chrome Hearts. So fancy. I got to get myself in the daycare business. That's where the bank is. Let's see what I've got right here. All right. So I've got more from some of the cases, one of the cases regarding transgender athletes in sports. This is the Idaho case. So I forget the name of that case right now. That case is, come on now. That's the Hecox case, Hecox. All right, let's come back to the show.
School that has a boys, let's say, track team and a girls track team. The school has that. And a student who has the genes and the reproductive system of a male and had those at birth and has never taken puberty blockers, never taken female hormones, never had any gender altering or affirming surgery, says, nevertheless, I am a woman. That's who I am. Can the school say, no, you cannot participate on the girls' team?
So, sorry, so you're just a birth sex male who has all the advantages of birth sex male hormones, and can the school bar him from the women's team? Yes, they can.
But that person, is that person not a woman in your understanding? If the person says, I sincerely believe I am a woman, I am in fact a woman.
I think
is that person not a woman?
I would respect their self-identity in addressing the person, but in terms of the statute, I think the question is, does that person have a sex-based biological advantage?
This is the case being argued right now in front of the Supreme Court. Tony Katz today, actually, this is the first of two. This is known as Little versus Hecox. This comes out of Idaho. The issue, whether the law that seeks to protect women's and girls' sports by limiting participation to women's and girls based on sex violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. That's the case here. Is there a 14th Amendment play to the idea that you have to allow a boy who says they're a girl to play in women's sports? And what Justice Samuel Alito was discussing was, here's a man, here's a boy, all the characteristics, not even an attempt to pretend to be something else. It just says, I'm a woman. Do they get to play in women's sports? And the lawyer for wanting the 14th Amendment to matter here, her name is Kathleen Hartnett. She's saying no. Well, how in the world can you say no?
It's going to make it unfair for that person to be part of the women's team, and that's the rationale for the regulation. And so that's the way we would be testing that hypothetical.
Well, the reason I'm asking has to do with discrimination on the basis of transgender status. So what you seem to be saying is, yes, it is permissible for the school to discriminate on the basis of transgender status, because if this person is a trans woman, a trans girl, and is barred from the team, from the girls' team, then that person is being subjected to differential treatment based on transgender status, right?
Well, that would be, then the question would be whether it was, the scrutiny would be satisfied. So from our perspective, that would be a transgender classification.
With all due respect, You have no argument. There is no argument to be made for men and women's sports. None, because they are men. Now you're saying no men and women's sports unless the man is what? Wearing the right dress? Got the right makeup? Has satisfied some unknown standard to which, oh, no, now they're a woman. I believe the standard by which we then decide, okay, now you're a woman, is a uterus. But I'm old school, I guess. Oh, I think it's a bad day for the lawyers who think that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. By the way, I think the standard being a uterus is a pretty good standard. I'm going to keep that one if that's all right. Excuse me. Forgive me for that. Usually I hit the microphone. I hit the pause. I apologize. All women don't have uteruses, though. There we go. Now, sorry, I had to respond. All women do have uteruses. If you're saying was something removed through a medical procedure, it doesn't take away from her being a woman. It is clear. Everybody understands what I said. And it is also clear that these are the kinds of responses that are meant to say, aha, no. If you just want to do XX or XY, that's fine too. Everybody knows what is. Everybody knows that this transgenderism is nonsense, that we are buying into mental illness, and we should stop. So cutesy right here. Not factual. Best of luck to you, though. Shut down what? What, something else? I don't think I have to shut down. We're good. If you want to argue, dear sweet people in the chat room, we are more than our chromosomes. You are more than welcome to make this argument. What you're not allowed to do is tell a little boy or tell a young man or tell a man he can wear a dress and he's a woman, because he never will be. That's all. And no, you can't play in women's sports. That's all. That's all there is. There's nothing else. If you want to play in the edge cases, you can. That isn't what we're discussing. We're discussing whether or not we think there's a standard to society, and we do. And you're losing this argument on the culture side. That's all. I want you to lose. There's nothing else. Not angry with you, but you're kidding yourself and you're pretending an intellectual prowess that doesn't exist. A mention of edge cases doesn't change the factual situation on the ground. You want to mutilate boys, you want to mutilate girls, and you think it's okay for women to take a back seat. I don't. Let's go, Landon. I've got some people in the chat room upset with my conversation about the uterus. Okay, things I never thought I'd say on radio for 500, Alex. Because I said, what makes a woman? Well, a uterus. And then the response was, well, some people don't have, some women, they don't have uteruses. Okay. This is the game we're playing. This is the game we're playing. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. Let's just put a bow on it real quick, because I've got 3 more things for you. I have got a lot. We can just base it on chromosomes, XX or XY. Well, what about XXY? Listen to me carefully. The argument before us is whether or not we have a standard and a norm, not whether or not there are in existence scientific cases of mutation. Men are not women and women are not men. That's it. Being angry about it and trying to pretend an intellectual approach to it doesn't change the reality. There are people on the left who want to be able to say a boy can be a girl and are fine with mutilating that boy, mutilating that girl. What does it have to do with me? Great question, chat room. What society allows children to be abused and thrives? That's what it has to do with me. I'm a rational human being. Abortion, what does that have to do with me? Should we be a society that kills? Should we be a society that says, I don't want to be inconvenienced, so I kill the baby? I don't think we should have that society. I think that we should say no to that society. That's all. So this is some of the stuff that you get confronted with, guys. The stuff that you get confronted with is a serious pseudo-intellectualism, and what it wants to do is cloak itself in something they pretend is intellectual. Women don't have a uterus? Well, some women are born without a uterus. We would consider that an exception. What we are discussing is a rule. Can we at least respect that a woman is a woman? Can we at least define what a woman is? Whether we're going to call it an adult female or anything else. Why are we allowing ourselves to be put in the position to somehow think that women require all this extra definition? That's only done when you want to cheapen them, when you want to lessen them. And wearing a dress does not make one a woman. Wearing makeup does not make one a woman. Claiming someone is a woman, claiming yourself to be a woman does not make one a woman. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. And so what we are saying is that we're not going to have this in our society. We're not going to buy in and support mental illness. And when you say to me, women transition to men as well, right? No, they don't. That's the whole point. There is no intellectual argument that starts with, a woman can be a man. No, a woman can't be a man. Now, you would be better off if you made your argument, there's no such thing as a woman or a man, but you don't do that. You say there's no such thing as a woman, and then a man could be a woman and a woman could be a man, thus admitting that there are the two things. Oh, gosh, you'll forgive me. I have to move on from you crazy people. And that's how we view you. I don't want you to think that we're going to walk away from this. All right, we'll agree to disagree. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is you're wrong and you want to abuse children. We think you should be stopped, and we're going to stop you. No society that abuses children can survive. And children don't get to make this decision. By the way, children can't decide to have abortions either. They're 12, they're 15. Can you imagine the horror show in that conversation? A 12-year-old having to make that decision. It's, first of all, 12-year-olds getting pregnant. That's equally horrifying. If that is, it can happen. I guess it depends on the child. It's horrifying. You think a kid should make that decision? Dear Lord. Can I, is it all right if I address one more thing? You know what? I'll leave it be. I've got 3 more things for you. I have got so much stuff for you. It's a lot. Are you ready? We will start here. You've got Representative Fine. He is out of Florida, and he is introducing the Greenland Annexation Statehood Act. Oh. It would authorize the president to take whatever steps necessary to annex or acquire Greenland as a territory of the United States. Representative Fine. Whatever steps are necessary. I get it, sir. I get it. You really want to be in Trump's good graces. I get it. Whatever steps are necessary, as deemed by whom? Huh? Listen, I think we're going to make the deal for Greenland. I do. I think we're going to make a deal in one way or another for Greenland or for parts of Greenland, etc. Whatever steps are necessary. This is not going to be military. It should be nowhere near military. That is a nutty thought. That's a dangerous thought. Then there's this. This was a post by Steve Guest, who I don't know Steve. I know the name because I think I've seen it on my feed before. And this is a really interesting chart that was put out by Axios, where they state the climate agenda's fall from grace over the past year has been stunning. By the numbers, global venture capital investments in climate and clean tech have dropped nearly 50% since their high of 2021. Check it out. So this shows a chart from 2006 to 2026, so 20 years. And it shows it in 4 different colors: blue, gold, pink, and gray. So blue is the United States, gold is Europe, pink is Asia, gray is the rest of the world. And it shows, all right, 2006, not much. It picks up a little bit and stays basically the same through about 2016, where it starts picking up. And the leftists were getting more and more play. And then, boom, 2021, the number is massive, almost $75 billion, with over $25 billion from the U.S. And then slowly, 22, 23, 24, 25, the number starts falling. Now, it's still higher than where it was in 2016, where things started exploding. But it could be one of 2 things. Well, there are only so many investments that one can make. Or it can be seen as all these investments are stupid. We realize they're stupid. These progressives are stupid. Let's stop doing stupid things. Ford has said we're doing away with the F-150 Lightning, and they're going to take a $13 billion write-down. A loss, I should say. 13 bill. $13 billion. It's a lot of loot. If you've never driven their electric pickup, the Lightning, it's spectacular. I've worked with Ford in the past, locally, a local dealership, and have driven the Lightning. Love it. Love every bit of it. The speed, the pickup, the comfort, fantastic. Fantastic. For a guy who works from home, perfect for the lifestyle, great. That car new is $80,000. No one's buying that. They announced that they're not going to make any more. The whole program's been an unmitigated failure. Dealerships still want $60,000 for these things. Who's going to buy it? Who's going to buy it? So they put this investment in because they basically got threatened regarding cafe standards. And then they got this societal push and nobody wanted it. $13 billion that could have been spent on anything. Every UAW worker could have gotten a raise. Every car could have come with a chocolate chip cookie. I don't know. $13 billion gone for a car that I think is great. Nobody wants. Then there's Candace Owens. I know. But just trust me on this one. She has millions of followers and none of it makes sense. I am not saying you have to follow me, although you should. I take on trolls. I'm delightful. I have good cigar recommendations. I'm a piece of ass. All those things. Am I allowed to say that on air? You think so? Well, we're about to find out. We're about to find out. Candace Owens, who has gone on and on about Charlie Kirk being murdered and people who were in on it and were part of it, and Charlie was betrayed by his team. Really ugly stuff. She says, I had a dream. In the dream, I was at the funeral for Benjamin Netanyahu's wife. She's not dead. It's a dream. Charlie Kirk came to me in the dream and told me that it was his former producer, Andrew Colvett, who is responsible for his betrayal. She said this like it should matter. Can I ask why anybody's following her? The bigotry of Tucker Carlson? What's going on? Listen, Tucker, Candace, Megyn Kelly, they've jumped the shark. They had their moment, and all three of them decided, I could be the Fonz. It's over. Why is anybody still following them? I didn't say you had to follow me. Although I'd love to have you as part of the show if, you're not insane. But you're following that? That's madness. Why would anybody want to be a part of that? Why would anybody listen to that and be like, you know what? I trust her political acumen. Nope. That's a fever dream. And she thinks that's newsworthy? I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. There it is. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. See? This is great. Hold on a second. She did not actually say it. This is Ketanji Brown Jackson. Let's hear it.
Of the overarching classification, everybody has to be play on the team that is the same as their sex at birth. But then you have a gender identity definition that is operating within that, meaning a distinction, meaning that for cisgender girls, they can play consistent with their gender identity. For transgender girls, they can't.
So I think that, okay, so as to the part about your ability to pass over from boy to girl,
yes,
you can go from one way but not the other. I want to be clear that BPJ is not challenging that specific classification. I think that's important to start with. But I think, if anything, that's useful evidence as to the lack of a transgender-based discrimination, because if the legislature were just sort of unsettled by the notion of transgender athletes, I think the answer would have been to then bar them from passing over.
I cannot believe we're still going over this, but the hearing our hearings going on the Supreme Court regarding transgenderism, and I had to share it with you. This is Ketanji Brown Jackson, the leftist. I'm just gonna play it for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess I was getting at the what I understood the Chief Justice to be trying to discuss, which was this notion that this is really just about the definition of who we accept that you can separate boys and girls, and we are now looking at the definition of a girl, and we're saying only people who were girl assigned at birth qualify.
And
this is a case about boys and girls sports. There are two cases the Supreme Court is hearing today, and that is Ketanji Brown Jackson trying to make the argument of why do we have to define what a woman is. The problem is she told us that she can't. In her confirmation hearing, she said that she can't define what a woman is. She's not a biologist. How is it possible that she is on a case where we have to define what a woman is? She should have to recuse herself from the case. Because if indeed she is now within these two cases that the Supreme Court is hearing, defining what a woman is, she lied in her confirmation hearing. Am I the only one who put that together? No? Good Lord. I've got more on this. Maria Machado coming to the White House and the Jerome Powell saga. Yeah, I think the administration is handling this all wrong, but Pam Bondi handles a lot of things wrong. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. I got to tell you guys, it was not my intention to do this much regarding Ketanji Brown Jackson, regarding these cases. I really thought I was going to leave it be, and I feel bad in a way, because I didn't want to go back to it. I want to make sure I'm giving you the widest platform of all the different subjects. But holy cow! I hope you'll forgive me for getting back in, because it's not important to define what a woman is. She can't, because if she can, she lied. I don't know how we don't just say that. It's just clear. I should have. I'm gonna. It's my fault. I should have just had a little more control. But nope. I'll get to it. I'm gonna focus on this stuff. Guys, hour 3 is coming up on the radio side, which of course can be heard at WIBC.com, and of course the creator of Dilbert, Scott Adams, dead today at the age of 68. The cancer and a really kind of fascinating statement where he wrote on January 1st, he wrote a statement, clearly knowing that things were not going to work out. His wife announcing on his show, he's not with us anymore. And he wrote, if you're reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things to say before I go. My body fell before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this January 1st, 2026. If you wonder about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know I am free of any inappropriate influence of any sort. I promise. He then continued. And this is where it's going to get really interesting for a lot of people. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I am not a believer, he writes. I have to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks so attractive to me, so here I go. This is his wife reading the letter on behalf of Scott Adams, and the letter reads, quote, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior and look forward to spending an eternity with him. The part about me not being a believer should be quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. I won't need any more convincing than that. I hope I am still qualified for entry. That is funny. He said that he spoke with his radiologist. The news was bad. The odds of me recovering are essentially zero. So there's no chance that I'll get my feeling back in my legs. And I've got some ongoing heart failure, which makes it difficult to breathe sometimes during the day. However, you should prepare yourself that January will probably be a month of transition one way or another. Interesting. Interesting in that my own personal look at a deathbed conversion, whether I agree or disagree, is kind of, I think, inconsequential. Not the guy in the deathbed. Christopher Hitchens used to say he had cancer and known for his book, God is Not Great. And I've often said of Christopher Hitchens, I don't know if he's right, but he ain't wrong. Hitchens was brilliance. And this is what happens from study and having just remarkable linguistic skills and incredible recall. But he once said that if you should find me on my deathbed, in pain, screaming that I found the Lord, just know that that's not me. That is not actually me. I, being in my sound mind, would never believe such a thing. And I feel the same way about that I do about Scott Adams. Okay? This is your journey and your life. And who in the world am I to say, oh, that's ridiculous, or oh, that's crazy? You did for you what was best for you. And in a moment of things being out of your control, you took control. In Judaism, you change your name. It's a whole thing about you change your name because with terminal illnesses, there's so many things out of your control, so many things you're forced to do or to take or not do or not take. This is something that you are in charge of. You decide. A sense of control, a sense of focus, a sense of looking forward to something. I always thought that was rather beautiful. And so I read this from Scott Adams and it reminded me of Hitchens. And the answer is, I think they're all the same thing. I do. I think they're all about having some kind of control of what's happening. Here's something that I can still do while this other thing is creeping upon me. I don't know if people agree or disagree. It's just where I was with it. And then I find something completely beautiful in it all. Scott Adams, gone at the age of 68. Guys, I appreciate you being here. I've got another hour of radio coming at WIBC.com. You should check that out. You should join me January 24th, Trump 1 year later. Get your tickets right now. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. Tickets.TonyKatz.com. Get your tickets right now. You should do that immediately. If not sooner, get your tickets. The bourbon, the food, the laughs, the music. It's going to be a show. You are going to absolutely love it. tickets.tonykatz.com. Get your tickets. And I will catch you tomorrow, everybody. You be good. All right? Take care.